We see the Enterprise F for a couple of beautiful seconds in the beginning of Picard Series 3, but we may never see her again. Why? Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So, I have done a couple of videos talking about Picard Series 3. I have talked about how I am quite concerned about Picard Series 3, but the closer we get to the release of this season, the more excited I am getting, and the more confident I am that we're actually going to be getting a brilliant series of Star Trek, a season of Star Trek that these characters actually deserve, and I'm quite excited. But something I came across today disappointed me somewhat. It seems that the Enterprise F, the Odyssey class starship that we've been dying to see on canon, actually on screen for so long, might be the only voyage of this vessel we get to see. Now, we already know from the trailer that we get to see this beautiful shot of the Odyssey flying by with a small flotilla of other vessels. But information released through Starfleet's Instagram account today and the Titans data logs, all promotional information building up towards the series, we found out actually the Enterprise F was on its way to be decommissioned. Yes, that's right. The first time we get to see this vessel will also be its last. So what? I hear you cry. What? How can this be the case? How can this be true? God, why? Terry Matalas, what the hell are you thinking? Why are you doing to this? Why are you doing this to us? I mean, Terry Matalas, the showrunner of this series, what the hell are you thinking? What are you doing to us? Right, so let's just go through quickly what we know about, first of all, the Enterprise E and then the Enterprise F. So, from the end of Prodigy, we actually got to see the end of the Enterprise E. Now, this wasn't confirmed, but the Enterprise was in the fleet that came to aid the Protostar at the end of Prodigy. If you haven't seen it, there's a big battle. Basically, there's this thing, this living construct that can infect computer systems, and it infects the computer systems of any starship it comes in touch with, and the ships basically just turned on each other. We actually see lots of Starfleet vessels getting blown to pieces, one of them being the Enterprise E. Now, the last we see of her, she is heavily damaged. She's completely blacked out. There's no lights anywhere, and there's several very large gashes in the hull, but she's still mostly intact. So we didn't actually know, was this the end of the Enterprise E? Well, it seems like it was. That attack happened in 2384. According to these data logs, thanks to the Titan, the Enterprise F was then launched in 2386, only 2 years later. So I think from that we can assume that the Enterprise was probably unsalvageable. We are making an assumption there, but it would make sense. And then they built the new Enterprise. The Enterprise F, the Odyssey class, however, then only survived 15 years. Now, I think it's fair to say Starfleet vessels don't last the way they used to. If you look at sort of the Excelsior class or Constitution class, those vessels were in operation with Starfleet at the front line for 50, 60, 70, 80 years. They just constantly got refit. They have a good space frame, and then you can just swap out technology as you need to upgrade it. Now, don't get me wrong, an Excelsior class vessel probably is not going to be in the front line the same way a Sovereign would, but we actually saw repeatedly that Excelsior class, like during the Dominion War, etc., were in the front line. Several Excelsior class vessels were actually destroyed during the Battle of War 359, but obviously after the Borg and after the Dominion conflict, we can assume that Starfleet would have been heavily upgraded considering its losses. But what do we actually know about why the Federation F was being decommissioned? Well, all we know is that its critical systems were very heavily damaged or compromised during something called the Moffett Gambit. Now, this is quite a lot of detail about why the Federation's flagship was being decommissioned. So it makes me wonder, is there a long-term plan? Is this really going to be the last we see of the Enterprise F? Or actually, is there a plan to fill in some of these missing years and maybe get to see some details of the voyages of the Enterprise F? Now, that would be amazing, but I got a couple of points I'd like to make. I'm sick to death of Star Trek jumping through time frames. If this is going to be another prequel, a series, or something based before Picard season 3, I'm going to be really irritated. We've already got Prodigy and Lower Decks, which roughly are in the same time period. We've then got Picard, which is 20 years ahead in now the 1401, and we have Strange New Worlds, and then we also have Discovery, which is set away in the future. So we've already got 4 time frames on the go at the moment over 5 series. We don't need any more. It's confusing enough as it is. Maybe they would do this through comic books. Maybe we get to see the Enterprise in that format. Well, that would be, for me, a shame. The Enterprise is, at the end of the day, the vessel within the Federation that we are most interested in. We like to know what's going on with her. So it would be a shame if that was the only way we got to see her. Obviously, she's in the games, and there's a rich history there, but that is beta canon to say the least. So how else could they do it? Well, maybe we'll get to see her in the animated series. Maybe we'll get to see her in Prodigy. Again, that would be a little bit of a shame. But actually, the battle sequences at the end of Series 1 of Prodigy were amazing. If you are the sort of Star Trek fan like me that enjoys a space battle, you've really got to watch the end of Prodigy. It's great. So if they did it that way, I could live with it. But again, I would be disappointed. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think we're ever actually going to see another Star Trek series based aboard an Enterprise. We should, we want it, we'd love it, but I don't think we're going to get to see that aboard the Enterprise F. Is there, though, another possibility? Because obviously, there's a lot more letters in the alphabet. Could we actually see Star Trek The Next Generation, where we see the voyages of the Starship Enterprise G? Well, that would be pretty cool, and we'd get to see a new Enterprise as well. I mean, seeing the Odyssey has been very cool because they brought that from the game, but we knew what to expect. The Enterprise G, we have no idea. So that would be kind of cool. But do I actually think that's the plan? Probably not. So let's see what happens in the coming years, because we are expecting a new series to be announced following Picard Series 3 ending. What could that series be? We just don't know. Some interesting time ahead. Some big questions thrown out there again by Picard Season 3, and a little bit of a disappointment already. But hey, we got to see the Enterprise. That's very, very cool. If it's the only time we get to see her, that will be a massive disappointment. But let's cross our fingers. Let's hope for the best, and let's hope that this isn't the final voyage of the Enterprise. But guys, get in the comments to tell me what you think. Is this cameo of the Odyssey Enterprise a massive disappointment, or are you just glad to see her on screen? And what do you think is next for the voyages of the Starship Enterprise? Do you think we'll get to see the G in some future incarnation of Star Trek? I'd love to know exactly what you think. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, really helps us out. And if you want to become a fully fledged SciTrekker, please consider hitting the join button. There's also links to all of our other things, including Discord, TikTok, blah, 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 in the description. As always, please stay safe. I'll see you next time.